All right. All esteem to the Most High Yahuwah. Also, shalom to those taking the time to listen. I'm one of the children of the Most High, and this message is titled Breaking the Law of the Promised Land. Now, this is another segment of the I-820 series, or the Isaiah chapter 8, verse 20 series, where I've been going into the laws of our people. Yes, the laws of those of us being called Negroes today, who are waking up and finding out that our true identity is that we are indeed the direct descendants of Abraham, Ishaq, and Jacob, or Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So we are none other than those chosen people referred to as Israelites within our scriptures. In fact, we found that the book known as the Bible is a compilation of all of the different scriptures that were written and recorded and transmitted from generation to generation by our ancestors. In fact, not only were they transmitted and recorded by our ancestors, but they were directly dictated to our ancestors by the Spirit of the Most High Yahuwah, our Almighty Creator. And so as we've come into this awareness as to who we are, we've been going back to the law that was given to our people to live by, because we realize that these laws shape and impact every aspect of our journey as a people. In fact, our entire past, present, and prophetic narrative is completely determined by whether or not we are actually living by these laws or if we are not living in accordance to our laws. So we have been coming back to the wisdom and understanding tied to these laws and how we should apply these laws in our daily lives, so that then we can now change the outcomes that we are experiencing as a people. So with this understanding, we're going to deal now with the law of our promised land. Now, first, we have to verify that indeed a land plot has actually been given to our people. And in order to do that, all we need to do is go directly to the book called Bereshit, also known as Genesis. You go to chapter 35, verses 10 through 12. You're going to see that the Most High Yahuwah was speaking to our forefather Jacob, and he gave him a new name of Yasharal, the same name that is tied to our land even today. In fact, when you get to that passage, you'll see it says, "And the Almighty One said unto him, Thy name is Jacob, thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Yasharal shall be thy name. And he called his name Yasharal. And the Almighty One said unto him, I am the Almighty Power. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. And the land which I gave Abraham and Yishak, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed after thee will I give the land." So see, the Most High Yahuwah gave Jacob a new name of Yasharal, and of course our custom was to have our land named after our people. So the land of Yasharal was named after our father Yasharal. And of course, that land still bears that name even today, and it is entitled to the seed of Yasharal. Because also another part of our custom was that the land would be passed down from father to his son. And so that son, when he became a father, would pass it down to his son. And so our law held that we would pass down our land through our male children. Now, this is why you see in Bereshit chapter 35, or Genesis chapter 35, that the Most High Yahuwah himself is passing down land through Abraham, Ishaq, and Jacob. Because see, the Most High Yahuwah, when he went into covenant with our father Abraham, he had taken our people and called us his firstborn son. In fact, if you go to the book of Exodus, or Shemot chapter 4, verse 22, you're going to see, indeed, the Most High Yahuwah claims our people of Yasharal as his firstborn son. And so we are entitled to the inheritance, which includes the promised land, the land that was promised to our people. In fact, if you go to the book of Yobel, or Jubilees, you'll find there that our promised land includes prime real estate. In fact, the territories known as Mount Sinai and also Mount Zion and even the Garden of Eden are found within our territory. The territory that is promised to us has those three set apart, or what people call holy, locations within it. Now, one of the things that we also need to take note of here is that the land didn't just disappear or go away, and our right to the land didn't go away either. However, we ended up being removed from our land. And in order to understand how we ended up where we are today, we need to go into what people call the New Testament writings, but they're better rendered as the renewed covenant writings or the testimony writings. We can go to the book of Luke, chapter 21, and we're going to see that Yahusha HaMashiach, the Messiah, yes, Yahusha being his name, meaning the salvation of Yahuwah, and his title being HaMashiach, meaning the Messiah or the anointed one, we see that he is speaking to our people because, of course, he also is of the seed of Abraham. He is of the same of our people being called Negroes today. And so as he was speaking to our people and fulfilling his ministry to our people as he was called to us, and he was sent to us, I should say, by the Most High Yahuwah, when he came to us, he also came with prophetic warnings for our people. And so in Luke 21, he was speaking to those of our people who were still living in the land, which was only a remnant of our people, because it was specifically only those mainly who were from the tribes of Benjamin, Judah, and Levi, or Benjamin, Yahudah, and Lewi, the three tribes of the southern kingdom. But remember, our people are a people of 12 tribes. The other 9 tribes were not collectively living within our land at the time of the Messiah's ministry because they had been removed into Assyria. They had been taken captive into Assyria as early as 722 BC, and they never made it back out of Assyria collectively back to our territories. Few of them had come and scattered and lived amongst the different parts of our land, but collectively as the northern kingdom of our people, they never made it back. So in Luke 21, you'll find that Yahusha is speaking to those 3 tribes mainly of the southern kingdom. And as he's speaking to them, he says, "And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh." So he was warning our people that when our capital of Jerusalem, which was also primarily known also as the capital of our southern kingdom, when we see that surrounded by armies, we should be aware now that the desolation of our land was about to take place. In fact, he was speaking of the same desolation that the prophet Daniel had spoken of. It was tied to the abominations and the sins of our people. In fact, it's also known as the abomination desolation. In fact, if you go further into Luke 21, verses 21 reads through 22, "Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter therein too. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled." So see, as I said, our ancestors had recorded and written the oracles or the words of the Most High Yahuwah that were given to them. Now, with these writings, we've got to understand that the journey of not only us as a people, but also the happenings of our land are recorded. What was to happen to our promised land is detailed. And so as you see, Yahusha was talking about how our people were going to need to flee from our land. And so as you go further in, you'll see in verse 23, it says, "But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people." Now I'm going to stop there for a second, because I remember when I was younger, as I was being raised up in churchianity, we were told that these verses had to do with the entire world. and what was going to happen throughout the four corners of the earth. However, reading these passages, you can see that it's talking about that specific land that Yahusha was in, because he said there was going to be great distress in the land and wrath upon this people. So we can see clearly that he was speaking about his own people, the people who are being called Negroes today. And as he goes on, he says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So we see here clearly that our people were going to be murdered, killed by the sword, right? And that many of our people also were going to be led away captive into all nations, meaning we were going to be taken into every part of this planet. Goes on to say, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. So our land then was going to now be taken over by the other nations. So we have to understand this prophecy that Yahushua was speaking. And now we have to also consider, did this happen? Separated from our land. And indeed we were. In fact, after the death and resurrection of Yahushua HaMashiach, if you were to go into our history, you'll find that in 70 AD, the Romans came and surrounded our capital. They surrounded Jerusalem, just as Yahushua had prophesied. And in fact, not only did they surround Jerusalem, but they conquered our land entirely, and they put to death many of our people right there on our soil. And then they also exiled many of our people, sold many of our people into bondage, into captivity, but also those of our people who fled into other parts of the continent of Africa. So, of course, we know the land of Yasharal is located in Northeast Africa. Do not let that title of Middle East fool you. That title of Middle East was never there on ancient or maps of antiquity. This is a relatively new term that was put on the land to confuse who it really belongs to, but it still holds our name, the land of Yasharal. Now, the other thing we need to note is that as many of our people fled the persecution of the Romans, many of us went into the west coast of the continent known as Africa and to the region called Negroland. You'll find this on maps. It's been charted as the region of Negroland. And right there in that region, if you were to look in the Slave Coast, Gold Coast area, the kingdom of Yahuda or Judah is charted on the map. In fact, it's charted as Kingdom of Judah or Kingdom of Wida. And the reason it was also called Wida was because the people who were colonizing us did not know how to properly pronounce our name as a people. And so this is the same exact area where the transatlantic trade ships came and picked up our ancestors. And after they picked up our ancestors, they did exactly what Yahushua had prophesied. They dispersed our people throughout the four corners of the earth. Our people were led away captive into all the different parts of the world through that trade, and also other forces that were going on that caused the scattering of our people to different parts of this planet. So with that, we need to understand, why did this happen to our people? And in order to understand it, we have to go to our law. So when you get to the law of the promised land, which is found in the book of Wa'ikra, or the book of Leviticus, chapter 18, and you can read verses 26 through 28 just to get a summary of it. There the Most High Yahuwah commands our people and says, "You shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourns among you." So let's stop there for a second. Notice that the Most High Yahuwah is telling our people that we should not commit any abominations. Remember, when our people were scattered away from our land, it was the abomination, desolation, or the desolation of abomination. Basically, our people were being put out of our land, and our land was being left desolate of us due to the abominations of our people. Because as you can see in this law, we were told that we were to keep the statutes and the judgments that the Most High Yahuwah commanded us to live by. So we were to keep those judgments and those laws, and breaking those laws would bring an abomination onto our land. In fact, it goes on to say this. It says, neither any of your own nation nor any strangers that sojourns among you, for all these abominations have the men of the land done which were before you, and the land is defiled. That the land spew not you out also when you defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. So as you read that passage of Leviticus chapter 18, you'll find that our people were told and warned that anytime we sinned by breaking the judgments, the statutes, or the laws that the Most High had given us, our land would become defiled. And once our land became defiled due to our sin, we then would get vomited up or spewed out of the land. And so this is how it happened. See, we would make our land defiled or ill, and it would vomit us up. In fact, if you were to go to 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14, you'll see this is why the Most High Yahuwah says, if my people, which are called by my name. So notice he's talking to his people, his chosen, select, elect people, the people of Yasharal. He says, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. So see, if you hear what the Most High Yahuwah is saying to our people, he was telling us that if we would humble ourselves and seek his face and repent, turn from the wicked ways, go back to the law, the statutes, the judgments, the commandments that he gave us to live by, then he would hear us from heaven, and then he would heal our land. Because see, the Most High Yahuwah was not willing to hear us from heaven if we were not going by the law that he gave us to live by. This is what he commands of us. In fact, if you go to Proverbs chapter 28, verse 9, you'll find there that the Most High Yahuwah said that anyone who does not hear his law, even their prayer is an abomination to him. So there we go with the abomination again. In fact, some people may say, well, that's in the Proverbs, that's in what is considered to be the so-called Old Testament of the book. Okay, well, you know what? Let's go to the New Testament, or what people call the New Testament, because truth, the word is unbroken. From beginning to end, it's all saying the same thing, but people have to open up their eyes and see what's really being said. They have to do their due diligence studying. But in the so-called New Testament, we can go to the book of John, chapter 9, verse 31. And you see there that it says the Most High Yahuwah does not hear sinners. So he does not listen to the words of sinners. He only hears those who have turned back to his ways. So we have to understand this. Now, with that understanding, when we turn back to his ways, his set apart law that he gave us, which people use the word holy, but it's more properly said to be set apart or consecrated. When we go back to his set apart ways, then we can make it back to our set apart land. Now, indeed, our people sinned. That's why we are in our condition today. If you go back to the covenant that our people have with the Most High Yahuwah, which you find in the book of Dabarim or Deuteronomy chapter 28, you find our covenant in which the Most High Yahuwah lets us know in verse 64 of Deuteronomy 28, he says, and Yahuwah shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other mighty ones, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So see, the Most High Yahuwah had told us once he even established his covenant with us, that we were going to end up scattered among all people, and that we were going to be from one end of the earth to the other. The same words that Yahusha later prophesied were going to befall our people because of the sin of our people. In fact, remember, sin indeed is the breaking of the law of our people. You find that in 1 John chapter 3, verse 4. Now, also, if you go to verse 65 of Deuteronomy 28, it goes on to say, and among these nations that we are scattered amongst, it says, among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but Yahuwah shall give thee there a trembling heart and felling of eyes and sorrow of mind. So see, we were not just going to go through this physical removal from our land and this scattering away from our people, or scattered amongst other people, but we were also now going to also suffer oppression, not just oppression physically in bondage, but also oppression of the mind. Our souls were going to be crushed. In fact, if you go throughout other parts of scripture, you'll find out about this scattering being prophesied. Even in Dabarim, or Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 26, the Most High Yahuwah declares it. He says, I said I would scatter them into corners. Remember, the four corners of the earth. And then he goes on to say, I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. So not only were we going to be scattered, but the remembrance of our very nation was going to be forgotten. Now, can't we say that that indeed has happened to our people? Yes, we can. We can see our people indeed were scattered away from our land, and then we forgot even who we were as a people. And so even today, people do not recognize us for the nation that we are called to be. Now, you can even go to Psalm 106, verse 27, and there you'll see again, and that he, the Most High Yahuwah, would cast their seed among the nations and scatter them in the lands. Once again, this is about what was to happen to our people. Or go to Ezekiel, the prophet, chapter 22, verse 15, where the Most High Yahuwah tells us directly, I will scatter you among the nations, and I will disperse you through the lands, and I will consume your uncleanness from you. See, the Most High Yahuwah, once again, was cleansing us from the defilement or the abominations that we had gotten involved in by scattering us away from our land, because our land had become defiled and it spewed us out. Now, you'll also find even in the prophet Yirmiyahu, or Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 11, that it says, for I am with you, declares Yahuwah, to save you, for I will destroy completely all the nations where I have scattered you. Only I will not destroy you completely, but I will chasten you justly, and will by no means leave you unpunished. So see, the Most High Yahuwah even promised our people that he was still going to save us, although we have been scattered amongst these other nations, but he will destroy all these other nations to which we've been scattered, although he was just punishing our people because we needed correction. We needed to be chastened. And so this is the way the Most High Yahuwah deals with our people. He even told us this back in the book of Devarim, or Deuteronomy, where he talked about how he would chasten our people as a father chastens his sons. So he was warning us even back then that if we left his law, we were going to be punished by him because he's our father. He is a father to our people. And that's how he deals with us, the people of Yasharal, those of us being called Negroes today. We are indeed the sons of the Most High. Now, if you go even to the prophet Zechariah, or Zechariah chapter 2, verse 6, that Negro land map that I showed you, how I said the transatlantic trade ships came to pick us up, well, you hear about that even in this passage. In fact, it says, hold there, speaking to our people. It says, flee from the land of the north, declares Yahuwah, for I have dispersed you as the four winds of the heavens, declares Yahuwah. So see, Yahuwah was warning our people that there were going to be those coming from the land of the north that were going to come and take our people and disperse us. And that's indeed what happened. Those transatlantic trade ships came and picked up our people. They came from the north, and they picked up our people from the west coast of the continent known as Africa. And then they dispersed us throughout all the other lands into slavery. So we were then indeed led away into captivity into all nations, as Yahusha HaMashiach had even prophesied during his ministry. So hopefully you're seeing how this all comes together. In fact, in Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 19, the Most High Yahuwah speaks directly about this matter. He says, and I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed through the countries. According to their way and according to their doings, I judge them. So once again, we broke the judgments and the statutes that the Most High gave us to live by. So he scattered us among all the other nations as punishment for correction unto our people. Now, with this understanding, this is why in even Amos chapter 3, verse 2, the Most High Yahuwah says, for he has dealt with no other family on this earth the way he deals with our people, and therefore he will punish us for our iniquities. Now, if you go to Ezekiel chapter 20, verses 33 through 34, thankfully, the Most High Yahuwah has also promised to have mercy on our people and to show grace towards our people, the seed of Abraham. In fact, in that passage, he says, as I live, saith Yahuwah the Mighty One, surely with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and with fury poured out, will I rule over you, and I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. In fact, continuing in that passage in verses 35 through 36 of Ezekiel chapter 20, it says, and I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pled with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt. So will I plead with you, saith Yahuwah, the Mighty One. So see, the Most High Yahuwah told our people that he is going to do to us in the future the same thing that he did to our fathers back when he had them brought out of Egypt under the leadership of Masha or Moses. And so when he brought them out, he delivered them from the captivity they were in. He has also promised that he will do that same thing to our people. There was nothing new under the sun. What we are going through now is the journey that even our ancestors had to go through at one point. But this is the last rodeo of captivity that our people will have to experience. But as you see, we are being taken back to our land, the land that rightfully belongs to our people. Because see, the Most High Yahuwah keeps his promise. And that's why he's giving us that promised land, because he told us it was going to be given to us. He told Abraham, Ishaq, and Jacob that he was going to give that land to their seed. And therefore, the Most High Yahuwah, being faithful to his promise, is going to fulfill that. And so we need to be aware of that. But as I said, the reason we have ended up in our condition today is because we have not been aware of, or we have not obeyed the law of the Most High Yahuwah. And we have to acknowledge his law that he gave us to live by. He is the father of our household. And so therefore, in obedience to our Father, we turn back to the ways that we were commanded to go, and we don't depart from it. This is how we get back to our set apart land. So, even if you go to verse 42 of Ezekiel chapter 20, notice that the Most High Yahuwah says these words. He says, and ye shall know that I am Yahuwah, when I shall bring you into the land of Yasharal, and to the country for the which I lifted up my hand to give it to your fathers. So see, as he had promised it to our fathers, Abraham, Ishaq, and Jacob, and he put his hand forth and gave it to them, he now plans to give us back to our land and to give our land back to us. And so this is a promise that he is going to keep to us, just as he has made it to our fathers. So if you need to hear another witness of that, you can go to Matthew or Matthew chapter 24, verse 31, because Yahusha, our Messiah, even told us then, he said, and he, speaking of the Most High, shall send his angels or his messengers with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds. Remember, we are dispersed to the four winds, and we are the elect of the Most High because we are his chosen people. Elect is just another word for chosen. In fact, it goes on to say, he would gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So we are going to be regathered for our reunity with our people and our land. And so I praise the Most High Yahuwah for his set apart word to our people, because we know that he will keep his word. And I pray that our people will be obedient to his law so that we can return to that land together as a family unit. So thank you for your time and for listening. Continue to explore the words of the Most High. Shalom, shalom, my people.